Hey YouTube world, and welcome to another video, the Travel with T-Bone video. Here we are in Guangdong at my college's campus, and I'm just kind of walking through the park. I'm going to tell you some ways that you can get better and stronger and faster at learning languages, so that way maybe it can help you professionally, or it can just help you, enjoy your life abroad a bit more. My experiences studying languages include Spanish, French in middle school, Japanese also in middle school, which I kept going with, Korean, which I really love. I did a little bit of German, and now I'm doing Chinese. Holy moly. I used these techniques when I was working as an in-house translator in Tokyo for about 2 years, as well as doing freelance translation for about 3. So these have worked very well for me, and I recommend them for you so you can get better, quicker, and stronger at the languages that you are studying. So not just Chinese, but this is a guide for Chinese, so I hope you enjoy. Let's start with the traditional method of how people usually learn languages. They go to a college, they get a course, and they buy a textbook, something like this, Integrated Chinese, or many other textbooks for learning languages. They have your typical word list right here, like Mo, stuff like that, will help you and are definitely useful to learn. However, my problem is that these go really, really slow, and they don't provide enough context for you to learn the language. The reason why they don't provide enough context is the dialogues, pair activities, and other types of activities that they provide are really, really short, really, really slow, and it doesn't really give you enough of a feel for each word that you'll see and experience when actually using the language in real life. The way to approach languages is actually using multiple books that each specialize in something specific. Like, for example, this is Modern Mandarin Chinese. It has different types of references for each type of grammar point. It's all grammar. So if you're learning Chinese through reading books or watching a show, odds are that they're going to have the grammar you want. Books more effectively, use the indexes. If there's a particular grammatical pattern you don't know, for example, chong, bu yao, you look at the pages, you find the pages that are listed, and you go to that exact page. So this would be 4621. We bounce around, we bounce around, we bounce around, until we eventually find where we need to go. 4621. Must not. Very good. The next thing you'll want to do is you'll want to supplement the lack of reading that exists in your traditional textbooks with actually things called graded readers. Graded readers are books that are written in a simplified language that contains stories that use high-frequency words based off of high-frequency vocabulary lists, usually generated by the government or some sort of linguist. And these are incredibly effective for learning the language because you begin to get a feel for how the words actually function within the language, as well as you learn it in an interesting context. You can learn it through the Mandarin Companion series, which I really, really like, and through traditional Western literature like Charles Dickens' Great Expectations, Mark Twain's The Prince and the Pauper, The Monkey's Paw, The Secret Garden, The Country of the Blind, Sherlock Holmes, The 6-Year Dream, and more. And these go up from level 1 to level 2. There's also Chinese Breeze, which is another series done by Peking University. I like these as well, and they're doing a second edition, as well as they have multiple levels that go up into the thousands, while this is pretty much the entire set of Mandarin Companion, which is too bad. I really, really like it. Another good graded reader series is the Chinese graded reader series, which is a bunch of short stories. These include the pinyin above the letters, so you're not constantly bouncing back and forth between a dictionary. While these, it's all Hanzi. There's no pinyin at all. But I prefer these just because they're a bit more natural, because as you go out into the real world, you find out that there is not a whole lot of pinyin with the Chinese characters. The reason why you'd want to be going through these books and reading them constantly is because it's called free voluntary reading, which is research done by a linguist called Stephen Krashen. Free voluntary reading improves your speaking, listening, reading, and writing over about 9 months. So if you can keep reading and constantly read and reread these sort of books, other materials such as Chairman Bao, which if you want to read Chinese news, it's the same thing, but with news. It will increase your vocabulary and general knowledge of the culture that you're getting yourself into, which is very important if you want to speak the language as well as make friends within it. As you're going through each book and doing free voluntary reading by doing those graded readers, picking the stories you want to read, putting them down if you don't like it, you should be adding them to Anki. Anki is a flashcard program for free, and it's also on your phone. And this can give you the word
这一章
and the definition. And what you can do is if you press the E button, you can bring up the edit. And if you want, you can have a Chinese friend actually provide recordings
这一章
so you can actually hear what the words are read like in Chinese. I went pretty serious, I got an actual recording set up for this. You don't have to do that, you can use a PC speaker, but I'm just a bit of an audio freak, so I do it that way. The next way to get better Chinese is to actually be going outside and speaking with people. This could be your students at your college if you're teaching at a college in China, or this could be with people online, with functions on WeChat such as the shake function where you can meet people just by shaking your phone or by the people nearby. You can find an easy conversation partner. What I did in Korea was actually, I had a coworker who was interested in teaching English, but I thought maybe they could teach me Korean. So I paid them a few bucks an hour to actually be my conversation partner, and I met with them 3 times a week. And I actually got quite good at speaking Korean with them because, I had someone who'd actually be willing to sit down, listen to me, and go over my mistakes again and again and again, which is what you need to do when learning to speak. A friend of mine named Greg, he actually had a really great idea for learning to speak more effectively with other people. What he did is that he would have a conversation with people when speaking Chinese, and he would keep going until he couldn't continue the conversation anymore. He asked the person, hey, what do I say next? What's the next part of this conversation? They told him, and slowly he was able to improve his speaking by knowing what to say properly in the next part of the conversation. Finally, if none of that really is working out for you, there's sites like italki where you can find professional teachers who develop their own sort of curriculum, as well as apps like HelloTalk. So there's many, many different ways for you to meet and speak with Chinese people. Just remember, always keep the vocabulary and stuff that you're building with them in your Anki dictionary, and if you can, get them to record the audio for you too, so that way you can listen, learn, mimic, and repeat. The last bit of advice I have for learning and having better Chinese is to go at your own pace. I know this sounds really, really simple, but definitely go at your own pace. If you go too fast, you can burn yourself out. If you go too slow, you can get bored because there's not enough of a challenge. This can mean not comparing yourself to others and getting jealous of how they are, or looking at others and looking down at them because you're better than them. Both can have very, very negative effects. One can demotivate you. Well, they both can demotivate you. One will demotivate you because you think you're better than X, Y, and Z, so you don't need to study. And then the other demotivates you because you look at this other person and think, wow, they're so much better than me. I'll never get that good. Yeah. And then one more thing is just have fun with it, If you're going out and using Chinese to watch Chinese movies, that's awesome. If you like Chinese fashion, that's cool too. If you're into, Chinese tea, like the Gong Fu Cha, that's awesome too. Whatever it is, just have a reason for learning the language. It could be money, it could be tea, it could be anything. Just keep that in mind as you learn the language, have fun, and enjoy the culture. That's all for now. If you like this video, give it a like. If you don't like the video, give it a dislike and tell me why in the comments below. Also, if you have any other practical suggestions for people to learn and improve their Chinese, yeah, tell them to me. Bye.